I was debating whether it was really worth making this video, if it was worth like wasting even a minute of my time just making this video, but I just decided screw it. I needed to get all my feelings out. I just won't feel complete in myself if I don't rant about this. So forgive me. So about a week ago, I watched a movie called Max Steel. It was released back in 2016, and I think I've heard about it coming out around that time. I think I watched one trailer. Now that I think about it, there wasn't really a whole lot of marketing for the movie, but it just didn't really interest me. So I just ended up passing on it. I didn't really care about it. I ended up looking at the reviews instead, and they were not very great or positive reviews. And after looking at those reviews, I was just thinking it can't be that bad, right? I mean, it probably wasn't great, but it probably wasn't that bad. So I decided to give it the benefit of the doubt. Now, keep in mind, I don't really know anything about Max Steel. All I know is I was based on a toy line and a cartoon series as well. But aside from that, I don't really know anything about Max Steel. I don't really care for it at all. I don't think I've even met one person that actually likes Max Steel. So as far as that, I just really don't care about Max Steel at all. So with that being said, I ended up watching this movie for the first time last week, and it's times like these where I wish I could go back in time and slap myself a couple times to prevent myself from making mistakes that'll damage my mental health for the rest of my life. Because after watching this movie, I don't really feel the same. Now, before we get further into the review or rants, I just want to give a quick public apology if I get too angry or too vulgar when talking about this movie, because I'm going to rip this movie to shreds. So let me just get that out of the way. So I apologize in advance. Now, I do want to get the one praiseworthy thing about this movie away right off the bat. The visuals. They're okay at times. You know, sometimes it can look pretty. I do like how they show how the powers... I do kind of like how they show how the powers work with this polygonal liquid stuff. And, you know, the energy... Like, with this weird glowing energy coming out of his fingers. I thought that was cool at times. And that, my friends, is the last nice thing I will ever say about this movie. Alright, so, first off, every character in this movie is just atrocious. Every one of them is written so obnoxiously awful. And the acting as well feels so empty. That, like, there was no acting. The lead character, Max, is such an unlikable dumbass. I had a hard time believing that he was the main character of this movie. There's nothing about him that makes me like him, that makes me root for him, that makes me want him to succeed. Nothing. He just feels like this bland husk, this empty shell of a character. Like, when he first gets his powers, or whatever, like this weird liquid and glowing energy shit that starts seeping from his hands, he doesn't even feel bothered by it at all, or face. He's just looking at it like, oh, let's look at this weird shit coming out of my hands. That's a little weird. I don't know about you, but if all of a sudden I realized that I had this like weird energy stuff coming from my hands, I'd be freaking the hell out like I was in an episode of The Twilight Zone. And in terms of acting as well, this guy has to be the worst offender in the entire movie. He really just brings no energy, no charisma at all to this entire movie, or to this character. All the characters in this movie all the characters in this movie is pretty bad. I will say the acting, all of it is bad. But this guy, I swear, has to be the absolute worst, the worst one out of all of them. Like, whenever he's not acting, whenever he's not saying anything, he's always making this face. And I feel bad too because I think around the time of filming this movie that this kid, yeah, kid, he was like around 16 to 17 at the time. So, he was probably inexperienced, probably didn't have any practice or lessons or anything like that. So I can't really blame him all that bad that his acting is not very good in this movie. But it's still inexcusable about like how bad it is. You should have gotten someone else at the very least. And then the main love interest for this movie, I don't really know if I could call it that because I really don't feel any chemistry or energy between these two characters with Max and the girl. There really just isn't anything. And the lead love interest in this movie as well literally has no purpose in this entire movie. She really has no reason to be in this entire movie other than to stalk Max for whatever reason. She literally spends the entire movie just stalking this kid for absolutely no reason. Aside from that, she doesn't really contribute anything to the movie at all. You can like cut her from this entire movie and nothing would change. And then we got Andy Garcia's character, and you can tell straight off from the back the moment that his character steps onto the movie that he's the main villain. Like, they didn't even try at all to cover it up. And if you're not gonna try to hide the fact that Andy Garcia is the main villain, you could at least make the main villain menacing or engaging or anything like that, but they didn't. The way this guy acts is goofy. His motivations are goofy. Even the way he looks in the climax is absolutely goofy. And then there's Max's mother, who doesn't have a big role to play in this movie other than to be Max's mother. And I think that's about it. I'm not even gonna bother continuing to try to explain it. So yeah, let's just move on. Let's talk about the plot now. Fuck the plot. That's right. I already forgot mostly about what happened in this movie. I could pull up a wiki summary page of the movie's plot, but I really don't think it's worth it. So I'm gonna try and sum it up best I can here. But I will say for 100% certainty that I cannot put into words how jumbled up and lazy this movie's plot is. I guess I'll just try to give a brief rundown of it. So about like halfway through the movie, a new character shows up, an alien robot named Steel. And let me get this out of the way. Steel is the worst character in this entire movie. Like, he's so aggravating. It's clear what the writers wanted to do with this character. They wanted to make him the comic relief. They wanted to make him funny, but he's not funny. He's just annoying in every single scene that he is in. I did not enjoy a single second with him on screen. And it's a shame as well because he's pretty much the movie's biggest plot device, I guess you could call that. So yeah, apparently Steel introduces himself to Max completely out of nowhere halfway throughout the movie. And apparently he has amnesia, which is, I guess, where the plot lies, I guess. But he agrees to teach Max how to master his powers and stuff. He can use super speed, he has super strength, he can leap across boundaries. That's cool, I guess. And then out of completely nowhere, he transforms into Blue Beetle or something like that. Like, out of nowhere, he summons this wacky Power Rangers looking suit, which looks god-awful, I will say. It looks terrible. And throughout the movie, Steel starts to regain his memories. We learned that he has some association with Max's father. They were researching this alien race and harnessing its energy, and they were partners, I guess, and Max's father was able to use the energy. But then Andy Garcia's villain character shows up to betray him. He wants the energy all to himself, so Max's dad ends up sacrificing himself by releasing all of the energy, and Steel went into stasis only for him to wake up later on once Max gets the energy. Just, it's just who fucking wrote this? Amateurs? I'm not kidding when I said I really can't explain this plot in words. It's unexplainable. It's so lazily written. In fact, everything about this movie is absolutely lazy. The acting, lazy. The story, lazy. The effects, also sometimes lazy. Even the poster itself is lazy. Just look at this. It looks like someone's first time using Adobe Photoshop. It looks so bad. And on top of all that, the movie itself is just, it's not really engaging. It's not entertaining. It's not fun. It's really boring. There's really like no action until like probably the last 20 minutes, I'll say. From what I count, there's like only 2 fight scenes in the entire movie. 2. And they both take place, I'd say at like night. It's like super dark, and it's really hard to tell what's going on. Throughout most of the movie, you're just waiting for something, God, anything to happen. This is like the cinematic equivalent to watching paint dry. Except I actually rather watch paint dry than watch Max Steel. This movie's like an hour and a half long, and yet that hour and a half feels like an eternity. About 20 minutes in, I just wanted to shut off the movie and just stop it there. Like, I couldn't take it anymore. I was just bored out of my mind. Like, it actually started, it started hurting watching, trying to, like, get through this movie. But instead, I pushed on. And I suffered for it. Every decision made in this movie by the characters as well make no sense. Like, I wasn't kidding when I said earlier that Max was a literal dumbass. Like, there's one scene in the movie, right, where Max is running away from the big bad science corporation or whatever. Jesus Christ, excuse me, I'm getting exhausted from all this talking. And then all of a sudden, he decides that he and Steel should split up. Now, later on in the movie, when Max and Steel are still split up, Max gets attacked by an alien inhabiting a tornado, I think. And in trying to run away from this alien, he doesn't use his super speed. And so that makes you probably think, oh, well, maybe he can't use the powers unless Steel is around. However, that makes sense. Okay, but whatever. If that's the case, it makes you further question why Max would even bother splitting up with Steel in the first place, if he just so happens to end up in a desperate situation where he might need the powers most. So stupid. And like eventually, I started getting tired of the movie, and it's stupid bullshit that it kept like spouting out. Like, I was actually getting angry, like very mad. Like, how did this movie get made? Like, is this what the people behind this movie wanted to do with it? How did they get made? How did they get financed? How did they get released? It's clear the people behind it don't like it. They don't care about it. There's literally no passion in this movie whatsoever. Like, what reason is there for this movie existing? Oh, that's right. Money. That's right. We wanted to make money off an IP that people love, I guess. And it's just, it sucks. It really sucks. And it makes me mad. Oh my god. I can't do it, guys. I can't do it. You guys probably don't understand, because you most likely haven't watched this movie. Alright, I'm running out of patience, so let's get this over with quick. So let me tell you how this film ends. Now, I was actually halfway through the climax of the movie, I guess, before I decided to just shut it off and just stop it there. Just end the suffering. But I decided to go back real quick just to see the ending of this film. And it's really nothing, you know. Max defeats the big bad guy, I guess. Steel has his memories back. He gets the girl. Yeah, nothing really meaningful happens. It's pretty stale. And it almost feels like nothing changes at all for the characters. It's almost like they wanted to leave it open to set up for, like, a sequel or something like that, in which I thank the Lord that we are most likely never getting, because I'm not interested in seeing a Max Steel 2 anytime soon. Alright, so that's the end of my rant for Max Steel. Definitely the worst superhero movie I've ever seen, if you can even classify it as that, I guess. And definitely one of the worst movies ever. No, actually, it's the worst movie I've ever seen. Like, and I feel 100% confident in saying that. And like, I've seen a lot of bad movies as well, like Batman and Robin, Fantastic, The Last Airbender, Transformers: Age of Extinction, just to name a few. But I gotta say, none of those compare to the absolute shit mound that is Max Steel. Watching Max Steel, the movie, is a fate worse than death. It's something I'd never put my worst enemies through. No one deserves to go through the pain and suffering of watching this movie. And I went through it. I didn't even pay money to watch this movie. I got to watch it for free. And yet I still feel like I was robbed. Like, it is insulting. I literally had to sit down and process this movie for like a whole week just to think of anything that made it worth remotely watching. And I couldn't think of anything. Like, there is nothing. There's literally nothing. The movie is nothing. It just wastes your time. You're better off paying $15 to stare at a wall for an hour and a half. This movie just, it sucks. It's horrible. I hated it. I hated every second of it. But I guess I am glad now that I saw it, because at least I'm confident in saying I can look at like any movie now and say that it's not as bad as Max Steel. I can, finally have confidence in saying that there will never be another movie that will be as shitty as Max Steel. Like, I feel very comfortable in saying that. So anyways, yeah, I'm definitely not watching this movie again anytime soon. I wouldn't recommend it to anybody. I just don't watch it. Please, God, I'm begging you, please, just don't watch it. It's not worth your time. I feel sorry for all Max Steel fans out there who were waiting for a movie and they got this. Like, my heart and soul goes out to all of you innocent people. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, that's about it. Rant's over. That's it.